Mass Effect Legendary Edition recently released and is a complete remaster of the original Mass Effect trilogy. Now, personally, I never played the original Mass Effect games thoroughly. I did briefly check out demos and watch other people play them here and there, but I never really got into them myself. So going into Mass Effect Legendary Edition, I am coming in completely from the perspective of somebody who has never played these games before and is sizing them up. I know that these games were made during BioWare's golden age, and that they are very highly regarded to a point where these games on their own, without these upgrades that we're about to talk about today, are good games. Immediately when I started this game, I got the vibes of an epic journey that I am about to embark on. I feel like I have quite the experience ahead of me, and I just instantly got that from the music and the animation and everything about the vibe of the game. Personally, I really like games that base themselves heavily around story. There's a lot of dialogue at the beginning of the game. However, as someone who really likes story-based games and a really fleshed out story, I really appreciated that. And I did kind of get the vibe that eventually the game was going to pick up more. I'm in more of a tutorial and story building stage at the beginning, so I was okay with that. It did take a little bit to get through it, but once I did, the game really opened up. The music is one thing that instantly really reached to me because I always appreciate good music. It's almost more important than what you're seeing because it just gives what you're seeing so much flavor. And that's exactly what the music of this game does. It's apparently the original music, so nothing was changed. And I really like the fact that such an old game from way back in 2007 still had such great music. I did find some weird parts with music where, like, there's a certain situation that is happening and the music is playing and it's all epic and it's vibing and stuff like that. And then instantly it switches the gameplay and then the music changes to, like, the music that plays in that section of the game. Instead of keeping that, like, momentum of the music and the story that was just happening and keeping those vibes as you heroically take on the next step. One of the biggest changes between this game and the original, obviously, is going to be the graphics. And the graphics are actually really good. It's still like the same models from the original game, just reskinned and using modern lighting. There's like widescreen, high frame rate, HD support, all this stuff. It's all pimped out for modern day game graphics and what we expect, but just slapping it on top of the old game. And I think that is really cool that we can do that with games these days. So I wonder which other epic game series that I missed out on in the past are going to get this treatment and I can come back to them and play them for the first time. The story of this game is absolutely epic, and if I didn't know any better, I would have thought that maybe like some epic book was written and then the game adopted the story, kind of like the Witcher series, for example. But no, this story was created for this game, which is incredible because it's such a vast, epic, and compelling story with so many different characters that really breathe a lot of life. The voice acting behind these characters is really, really good, especially for a game from that time. Like, they really put some money into getting that right even back then, and it carries over very well even in a modern remake of this game. I can't remember the guy's name, but he was the voice of Spawn, and he's been in a ton of movies. He's got this really deep voice. He was in there. I noticed that one of the characters sounded like Seth Green. Looked it up. I'm like, that was Seth Green. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of other incredible actors that are voice acting in this game. Speaking of story, there's a lot of DLC that is included with this game. All three games, Mass Effect 1 through 3, all the DLC that was released comes with Legendary Edition, which is super cool. So if you really want 100% all of it, you can. It's this massive experience. I think that's great for people that have replayed these games many times and new people like myself who are looking for a really good adventure to get in on right now. So many things come together in this game so well. Speaking of the characters, once again, they have so much character to them. They are living and breathing people. Another thing that adds to this game and its visuals and really brings things to life is the cinematography, the camera movement of these situations, showing the different players interacting with each other, telling the story further and further. You get these really cool shots of just epic rooms and buildings and landscapes with flying cars and spaceships. One feature that I really enjoyed in this game was the photo mode. So at any point in time of the game, you can activate photo mode, and then it pauses the game and you can kind of fly around and take pictures of things so you can get cool screenshots. I think that every game should basically add that, in my opinion. Having that in this game really just added a whole nother level of this is new. This has new things added to it. It's for this day and age. You guys will enjoy this game. Even though it's old, it's been upgraded very heavily. Now let's talk gameplay. The actual gameplay, like playing the game. The game has heavy RPG elements. You gain XP through conversations with people. You can level up your characters and apply different traits so you can have different strengths for your different characters. Your characters have different classes, and you can use different guns between your characters to give them advantages in battle. You can change out different party members who have different stats that you've been working on and upgrading, and that actually gives you different dialogue throughout the game and changes the way the game plays out. During one part of the game, I had this new character in my party, and he straight up executed somebody that we were talking to. I wonder if I didn't have him in my party and I had someone else, would that character have been executed? The movement is kind of sluggish compared to modern games. However, I do feel like it was modified in some way from the original. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, getting around is just kind of slow and a little bit annoying. But all the other great things about the game overweigh that very minor inconvenience. The menus are pretty simple and easy to use. The UI looks really clean and modern. However, some of the animations look kind of funny. Like at the beginning of the game, there's this character who's like your commander, and it looks like his eyes are bulging out of his head. And the AI of your enemies in combat are super wonky, and you could tell that that has not really been upgraded at all. And that is definitely some like over 10 years old AI. So again, I never played the original games, so I had to look up what some of the big changes actually were to know what they are. And the biggest one is obviously the graphics upgrades. It's just huge graphics upgrades from the old to the new. But there's some other things that are in the game that most people wouldn't actually notice if they didn't play the original game. One of them being skippable elevators. Apparently in the original game, these elevator parts of the game where you get in the elevator and you just sit there and you wait were really, really boring, and they happened a lot, and it really just kind of halted the game a lot. One of the old annoyances of the game that many people talk about. However, in the new game, you could just skip them. But there's also really cool conversations between you and those characters, so sometimes it's worth sitting and just listening. Apparently, there's way better controls, so if you compare the controls in this game to the original game, the new game's controls are going to be a lot more modernized and hashed out, just adding some basic quality of life additions. Better HUD, better weapon customization between characters. Apparently, in the old game, certain characters were locked to using only certain kinds of guns, but in the new game, you can change that. You can give them guns they weren't supposed to be able to use in the original game, which is cool. At the end of the day, my thoughts about this game are that I am really glad that I finally got to play this game. I always wanted to get into this series. I knew that there was an epic game series here that I missed out on in my childhood, and I'm really glad that they remastered this and made it really modernized so it's easier for people to come back and play something they missed. I think young people that play this game for the first time and never played the originals will actually like it because the gameplay and everything about the game is incredibly solid. I am surprised that I missed out on such a well put together game back in 2007 when this released. Thank you guys very much for watching my first ever game review. I've never done anything like this, so I'm really glad if you made it to the end. I plan on doing more game reviews in the future, especially if this one does well. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, drop a comment down below. Let me know how I did. And I'd like to know what you think about the remake of this game is if you played it. All right, guys, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video.